You have the proof, you have the evidence, yet you find yourself arguing against the plain truth, just to protect your partner. Why? Why do we defend the very people who harm us? Well, this is the dark psychological paradox of cognitive dissonance. It's a kind of mental stress that literally forces you into a lie of self-deception.
I mean, just think about that for a second. It goes against every logical bone in our bodies. You see the lie, you feel the hurt, but when someone points it out, or even when your own gut is screaming at you, you start making excuses. You're not just defending them, you're defending this entire reality you've built. Now, this isn't about being weak or not being smart enough. It's a sign that a really sophisticated psychological trap has been sprung, and the weapon being used against you, it's your own mind. So the big question is, how on earth does this actually work?
The answer, the key to this whole thing, is a powerful principle called cognitive dissonance. Now, you've probably heard that term before, but its true power, especially when it's weaponized by a manipulator, it's just so profoundly underestimated. It is the engine of self-deception. It's this invisible force that can make us betray our own senses, our own memories, just to get a little bit of mental peace. It's a terrible trade-off, really. Your reality for just a moment of quiet in your own head.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to dismantle this trap piece by piece so you can see exactly how it works. We'll start with a basic human drive for consistency, then we'll expose the abuser's three-step pattern that's designed to exploit it. We'll get into the psychology behind the self-deception, lay out some clear countermeasures, and finally, talk about the path to freedom, which, fair warning, is not always comfortable.
Okay, first things first, we have to understand the bedrock principle that makes this whole manipulation possible. It's this deep need we all have for our internal world to make sense. Now, this drive for consistency is usually a great thing, but it's also a major vulnerability.
So what is cognitive dissonance, really? The textbook definition talks about holding conflicting beliefs. But I want you to focus on that word painful. This isn't just a mild little inconvenience. We're talking about serious psychological stress. It feels like a blaring alarm bell going off in your head. You know, like believing I'm a smart person at the exact same time you're thinking I just did something really foolish. Those two thoughts just can't live together peacefully. Your brain has to resolve that conflict to shut off the alarm.
And that internal alarm system, it's supposed to be a good thing. It's a feature, not a bug, designed to help us correct our course. But in the world of manipulation, this totally natural drive gets twisted. It stops being a tool for self-correction and becomes a weapon of control. So how do they do it? See, a manipulator doesn't just wait for this to happen, they manufacture it. They go out of their way to create contradictions that throw you into that painful mental state. Gaslighting is the classic example, right? They deny something you know for a fact happened, which creates a war between your memory and their version of reality. Love bombing does it too. They create this perfect, idealized image, this person is my soulmate, which then clashes violently with some later act of cruelty. The goal is to keep you in that constant state of contradiction. And this is the core of their strategy. It's so sinister when you think about it. They're not just trying to win an argument, they are targeting your internal state of mind. They want you to live in that stressful place because they know your brain will do almost anything to escape it, and your desperate attempt to find relief, to quiet that alarm, that becomes the very thing that makes you comply. You basically end up becoming your own jailer.
Now that we get the basic principle, let's look at the mechanics. Because this isn't random, it is a systematic, repeatable pattern. It's a three-step process designed to set the trap, make sure you walk right into it, and then lock it behind you.
And these are the three stages. First, conflict induction. That's where the stress is created. Second, justification, where your mind desperately tries to find a solution. And finally, resolution, where you feel better, but at the cost of getting pulled in even deeper. Let's break each one down.
It all starts here, conflict induction. Let's say you believe your partner is an honest person. It's a core belief. Then, one day, you catch them in a huge, undeniable lie. Boom. Suddenly, you've got two ideas at war in your head. My partner is honest versus my partner just lied to my face. That's the moment. The dissonance is triggered. The alarm starts screaming. The trap is now officially set.
This is the critical moment. Your mind is frantic, trying to turn off that alarm, and it sees a fork in the road. Path number one is accepting the painful truth. The person I trust is a liar. That path is brutal. It means shattering your worldview, questioning everything. Path number two is the path of least resistance. Justification. It's a mental shortcut.
Your brain starts spitting out excuses. Oh, they must have been stressed. Maybe I misunderstood. It wasn't that big of a deal. These rationalizations are designed to help you avoid the much harder path of actually dealing with the problem. And here's the crazy paradox. The very thing you do to make yourself feel better is the thing that digs you in deeper. Every single time you justify their bad behavior, you are actively rewriting your own beliefs to make room for the abuse. You're telling yourself a story to make their actions okay. This isn't passive, it's an active process of convincing yourself. And once you do it, the alarm goes quiet, the dissonance is resolved, and the hook is set. You've now invested your own logic in defending the indefensible. So why is this pattern so ridiculously effective? To really get it, we have to look at the motivations on both sides of this equation. What's the manipulator getting out of it? And what deep psychological needs is this whole process exploiting in us?
You know, what's really fascinating is the huge difference in motivations. For the manipulator, it's all about efficiency. It's sinister, but it's brilliant. They don't have to control you every second of the day. They just set up the conflict, and your own brain does all the heavy lifting of self-deception for them. It gives them this constant supply of validation and control. But for the target, the motivation is primal. Just stop the pain. That psychological stress is so intense that making excuses feels like the only escape. Plus, there's this deep need for our own life story to make sense. It is so hard to admit to yourself, I made a bad choice. I was fooled. It feels so much easier to just change your perception of reality than to accept that.
And this whole thing gets supercharged by something called the sunk cost fallacy. We are just hardwired to see things through once we've invested in them. And in a toxic relationship, that investment is massive. We're talking time, emotions, effort, memories, maybe even a family. To admit the relationship is a mistake feels like admitting all that investment was a total waste. And the pain of that idea is often so huge that we just keep investing, hoping to turn it around. We justify the abuse today to protect the investment we made yesterday. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time looking at how the trap is built. Now let's pivot. Let's move from just understanding to taking action. Getting how the trap works is step one, but taking it apart, that requires a conscious, deliberate effort. It requires you to radically insist on reality, even when your own mind is trying to sell you a more comfortable story. The way out actually follows a pattern, just like the way in. It's a three-step defense. First, you have to name the contradiction. Second, you have to engage in external reality testing. And third, and this is probably the hardest one, you have to consciously accept the sunk cost. Let's see how these work together.
Step one is the absolute most critical place to start. When you feel that gut-wrenching anxiety, that dissonance, you have to stop the justification process before it even starts. And you do that by simply naming the two conflicting things. Say them out loud. He says he loves me, and he constantly belittles me. She says she trusts me, and she goes through my phone every night. The key here is using the word and, not but. But tries to cancel one thing out, and forces you to hold both truths at the same time. The goal here isn't to solve it right away. It's just to sit with the reality of the contradiction. Inside a manipulator's world, your own mind becomes this echo chamber of self-doubt. That's why step two is absolutely essential. You have to break the isolation. When something feels wrong, when that alarm bell starts ringing, your first move has to be checking your perception with someone you trust on the outside. A friend, a therapist, a family member. Just state the facts. Hey, this just happened. Am I crazy or was that not okay? That external validation becomes your anchor to reality. It stops you from getting swept away by the gaslighting and the excuses. And here we are, at the final and often most painful step. You have to consciously decide to let go of the past investment. You have to look yourself in the mirror and say, the 5 years I put in are gone whether I stay or leave. My future can't be about trying to fix a past mistake. Accepting the sunk cost is what really sets you free. It cuts the power cord on that compulsion to keep justifying the abuse just to make your past choices feel right. It lets you make a decision based on today, not yesterday. So, as we wrap this up, I want to reframe this whole idea. We've been talking about the pain of cognitive dissonance as the weapon a manipulator uses against you. But what if we start to see it differently? What if that feeling of discomfort isn't actually the problem? What if it's this signal? This is probably the most important thing to take away from all of this. That anxiety, that knot in your stomach, that mental alarm bell, that is your healthy mind trying to tell you something is wrong. It's a compass pointing straight at a contradiction between your values and your reality. The impulse for so long is to make that feeling go away by changing your beliefs. But the path to freedom is learning to listen to that discomfort and instead change your situation.
Your discomfort is your guide. It's pointing you toward the truth. And that's really what it all comes down to, isn't it? The trap of cognitive dissonance works because we're programmed to run away from discomfort. We look for the comforting lie. But real freedom is in the opposite direction. It's about turning around and walking toward that discomfort, seeing it as a signal and having the guts to face an uncomfortable truth. So let's bring it all home. Remember, cognitive dissonance is the psychological trap that creates this intense pressure for self-deception. The pattern is deliberate, the manipulator creates a conflict, and to reduce that awful mental stress, our mind jumps to justification, which is what gets us hooked. But awareness is what breaks the loop. By naming the contradiction, by accepting the sunk cost, you take back your power. You make a conscious choice to pick the uncomfortable truth over the comforting lie. And right there, in that one difficult choice, is where freedom really begins.